What's up everyone, welcome to the beginner's guide to Spellbreak. I've been playing the game for quite some time and I've taken on a lot of advice from various different players, much better than myself at the time, and this is sort of an amalgamation of all that advice for you guys. So let's get right into it. Areas with more mana vaults are more likely to be favored by more experienced players. If you get too close to their loot, they likely won't hesitate to exile you. I'd suggest for new players to land in a more outlying area and in smaller castles for their first few games. Yes, you'll have less favorable loot, but at least you'll stand more of a fighting chance than landing next to a vet. In case I need to explicitly say it, don't drop in mana vaults unless you are certain that you are alone. If you feel that looting one of these is worth the 20 seconds of wait, land next to or near and rapidly loot. A belt, a movement rune, and filling up on pots are practically necessities. Boots and eminence are bonuses, but don't disregard them, pick them up if you see them. They're not completely necessary for a fight on drop, but very helpful. Aim isn't something you can simply get advice for, as it simply boils down to practice more, miss less. But here's what I can offer. All gauntlet types travel differently. Some have an arc to the cast like the frost spell, the toxic both spell and the sorcery, and the stone sorcery. Each element varies in projectile speed as well. Toxic projectiles from each spray even spread out the further it goes. Learning each of these will prove vital, as you cannot only learn one or two elements, since you won't always get epic or legendary versions of them from an early stage of the game, every game. Movement could be a whole nother video on its own, but this is a beginner's guide, so we'll keep it simple. Better rarity boots give you faster run speeds. In some cases, you'd prefer a lower tiered boots in favor of the perks they provide. For example, Scribe over Mender or Behemoth over Slayer boots. Tempest and Toxicologists are the more stable classes by themselves, but Conduit can be quite mobile too with their overload ability and a suitable rune. Pyromancer's mobility I find to be a little lackluster, but can catch some opponents off guard and be helpful in addition to the boots and a rune. Bottom line is, the more you move, the harder target you are to hit. As for positioning, high ground like in the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin plays a vital role in engagements. Those who have it can see more of their opponent and they can see less of you. Being less exposed means that they will more than likely miss you more often than not. Get hit less, you'll live longer. If high ground is not available, don't push out into an open area where frost shots and stone shockwaves will catch you easily. If you're solo, don't worry about not being with your squad and you don't have a squad. But if you're in a squad, don't position yourself away from your teammates. You're likely going to run into a 1v3 in that scenario. Using cover is a great way to expose yourself less often, but don't box yourself in, you're asking to be dragon fired. So let's say you dropped safely. Your aim isn't bad, your movement's alright, and you know how to position yourself in a fight. But is your equipment okay? Depending on your class choice, some of these builds are definitely better than others. Toxicologist, for example, has two great choices for boots. Behemoth protects them from damage that could possibly be caused by the toxic puddles, or Wanderer boots, which are great for providing the opportunity of making use out of the outbreak skill a little bit more often. Scribe eminence are fantastic around a conduit's neck, and belts are generally preference for the player, but menders are fantastic around a stone shaper's waist. I'll go a little bit more in depth into item choices for different classes in the class guides. If they're not out when you're watching this, they'll be out relatively soon. Mana management, or MM for short, is a relatively new skill to refine. It encompasses recognizing how much mana levitation eats up, how much each spell costs, and avoiding the need to recharge. Equipping better amulets can make MM easier and are effectively necessary in winning mid to end game fights. Common gauntlets are obviously the worst for this, in terms of their damage per unit of mana spent, but especially wind, fire, and lightning. Never pass up better rarity gauntlets that you want to use, as they require less mana per cast and do more damage. The Slayer boots allow the user to levitate at a lower cost. Keeping an eye on this and not letting it run out will allow you to keep the fight going. If you let it replenish before expending it all, you can use the mana as it comes in, otherwise you need to wait the whole 1.5 to 2 seconds it takes to recharge. Those that are good at MM can upkeep a steady stream of damage output, whereas those who don't will end up recharging so much that there really isn't a whole lot they can do to win the fight. Keep in mind that when you aim a sorcery, your recharge is put on hold. When you start to notice your mana bar turn red and flash a little bit, it's probably a good idea to be more sure of your shots before you fire them. So I hope some of you were able to deduce some helpful tips from the video. If it's a little too hard to keep up with, I'll add the script that I wrote for the video into the description below. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be adding some class guides as well if you want a bit more in depth for each class. And of course you can always swing by my Twitch account, link down below by the way, if you ever need any more specific tips. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. My name is Merlin. Until you see me next time, stay magical.